Where'd you find this?
With GTA 6 looming on the horizon, I've been thinking about something that I honestly didn't expect. I'm kinda scared for it. And before you click away thinking this is another GTA is going to suck video, that's not what I mean. Actually, it's pretty much the opposite. I think GTA 6 could be one of the most groundbreaking games we've ever seen. I think Rockstar is probably going to push open world games further than anyone has before. And I think when this game finally releases on November 19th, 2026, there's a very good chance that millions of people are going to spend that first weekend completely disappearing into Vice City. Rockstar has already made the game available for pre-order, and the company has described the demand as unprecedented. So what exactly am I worried about? Well, it's the fact that GTA 6 has become so much more than just another video game. There's an absolutely ridiculous amount riding on this. Think about the expectations surrounding it. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013. That means by the time GTA 6 launches, we will have waited roughly 13 years for the next mainline Grand Theft Auto game. 13 years. That is an insane amount of time for one sequel to live in people's heads. And this isn't some obscure franchise that people forgot about. Grand Theft Auto 5 became one of the most commercially successful entertainment products ever made. And GTA Online kept people playing for years and years after the original release. So Rockstar isn't just following up on a successful game. They're following up a cultural phenomenon. And that's where things get interesting. Because when you give people more than a decade to imagine what the next game is going to be like, you're not just competing against other games anymore. You're competing against people's imagination. And there is no development team on earth that can compete with that. There's another reason GTA 6 feels different. I mean, it's the scale. It might be the most expensive game ever. We don't know the exact amount Rockstar spent developing GTA 6, and you'll see numbers thrown around ranging from hundreds of millions to over $1 billion. A lot of those numbers are estimates rather than confirmed figures, but even if you completely ignore the wildest estimates, it's obvious we're talking about an enormous production. And that's where comparing to GTA 5 gets interesting. GTA 5 reportedly cost around $265 million to develop and market. That was already an enormous budget for a video game. And now we're talking about a game that has been in development for years longer, with dramatically more advanced technology, larger expectations, enormous marketing requirements, and an online component that Rockstar will presumably have to support for years. And that's important because the cost of a modern AAA game isn't just the cost of making the game. It's developers, it's artists, it's motion capture, technology, marketing, localization, testing, server infrastructure. And Then after launch, you have years of patches, updates, support, and online content. The amount of money being bet on these games has become enormous. And GTA 6 might be the biggest bet we've ever seen. But here's the part that really worries me. Let me take you back to 1983. If you don't know what happened, the North American video game industry experienced a massive collapse. And it's one of those moments in gaming history that gets simplified into one single sentence. E.T. killed Atari. Except that's not really what happened. The crash was much more complicated than that. There were too many consoles, too many games, too much competition. Retailers were dealing with enormous inventories. Consumers were becoming skeptical about what they were buying. And companies were making increasingly aggressive decisions because the video game market looked like an unstoppable gold mine. But two games became symbols of the whole disaster. That was E.T. the Extraterrestrial and Pac-Man on the Atari 2600. Now, the interesting thing about E.T. is that the game wasn't necessarily doomed because the idea was bad. It was doomed because of the circumstances surrounding it. Atari wanted the game ready for Christmas, so the developer, Howard Scott Warshaw, had an absurdly short amount of time to actually make it. We're talking about a game being developed in a matter of weeks, and eventually millions of cartridges were produced. The game released and people didn't like it. Suddenly, Atari had a huge quantity of a game sitting around that retailers and consumers didn't want. And that became symbolic of a much bigger problem. The industry had started producing games faster than consumers could trust them. Then you had Pac-Man. And this one is particularly interesting because Pac-Man was not a commercial failure in the traditional sense. People knew Pac-Man, people wanted Pac-Man. The problem was that Atari 2600 version didn't live up to what people expected from the arcade original. The hardware was obviously much less powerful, so a perfect conversion was impossible. But consumers didn't care about the technical explanation. They bought Pac-Man expecting Pac-Man, and what they got was something that felt substantially worse. That damaged trust, and that's really the lesson I want to take from 1983. It wasn't simply bad games caused the crash. It was expectations got bigger than reality. And that's where I see the connection with GTA 6. GTA 6 has an expectation problem. Think about what people expect this game to be. People expect a massive open world. They expect incredibly detailed characters. They expect realistic physics. They expect a believable living city. They expect an incredible story. They expect revolutionary NPC behavior. They expect amazing driving. They expect incredible gunplay. They expect a massive soundtrack. They expect hundreds of hours of content. They expect GTA Online to somehow be even bigger than GTA Online. Like, if that makes sense. And that's before you get into all the ridiculous internet theories. People have spent years analyzing 2 trailers frame by frame. People are studying individual NPCs. They're analyzing license plates. They're trying to figure out map sizes. They're speculating about mechanics that Rockstar hasn't even announced. At some point you have to wonder, what could Rockstar possibly make that would satisfy everyone? And that's the scary part. Not that GTA 6 will necessarily be bad, but that it could be incredible, and people might still say that's it, because we spent 13 years imagining something that doesn't exist. And then there's the money. This is where the comparison to 1983 becomes even more interesting. Back then, a company could manufacture millions of physical cartridges and get stuck with them. Today, digital distribution changes that equation drastically. Rockstar doesn't need to manufacture millions of cartridges and ship them to every store in America. The game can be downloaded, updates can be pushed out, problems can be patched, and that's actually one of the reasons I'm much less worried about a literal repeat of the 1983 crash. The modern gaming industry is simply structured differently. But there's another kind of risk, the risk of consolidation. Because games have become expensive to make, publishers have increasingly become dependent on gigantic franchises. You don't necessarily need to sell a few 100,000 copies anymore. You need to sell millions, and sometimes tens of millions. And that can create a situation where publishers become terrified of taking risks. Why make something completely new when you could make GTA 6? Why make a weird experimental game when you could make another established franchise? Why spend hundreds of millions on an idea that nobody has heard of when you can spend that money on something people already recognize? That's the part that worries me more than GTA 6 itself, because I don't want GTA 6 to succeed so spectacularly that the industry looks at it and says, okay, every game needs to be this big. Because that's impossible. GTA 6 doesn't need to save gaming. And here's where I think we need to separate two different things. GTA 6 can be one of the biggest games ever made without being the future of every video game. That's important, because look at the game industry right now. There are massive AAA games, there are tiny indie games, there are experimental games, there are games made by 3 people in someone's bedroom. There are games that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's games that cost almost nothing. And somehow all of them can coexist. That's something the 1983 comparison sometimes misses. The video game industry today is vastly more diverse than it was back then. There isn't one company controlling the entire market. There isn't one platform defining what games are supposed to be. And there isn't one kind of game that everyone has to play. If you don't like a $70 or $80 AAA game, there are thousands of alternatives. If you don't want an enormous open world, it's smaller games. If you don't want a 100-hour experience, it's games you can finish in an afternoon. And that diversity is probably the industry's greatest strength. So what happens if GTA 6 isn't perfect? Honestly, probably nothing catastrophic. That's something I had to remind myself of. Maybe GTA 6 comes out and it's amazing. Maybe it changes open world games forever. Maybe Rockstar creates systems that other developers spend the next 10 years trying to replicate. That is the optimistic scenario. But what if it isn't perfect? What if the story isn't as good as GTA 5? What if the driving feels weird? What if the map is smaller than people expected? What if NPC AI isn't revolutionary? What if the online mode has problems? What if the game launches with bugs? People will complain. Rockstar will patch it. Some people will stop playing. Other people will play for thousands of hours. And eventually the internet will move on to the next thing. That's what happens. We've reached this weird point where every major game release feels like it's supposed to change the entire medium. And most of the time, it doesn't. A game can be successful without redefining gaming. A game can be disappointing without destroying an industry. And GTA 6 doesn't have to be perfect to be great. But I actually think that GTA 6 has a huge opportunity. See, this is the part where my fear turns into excitement. Because if there's one studio that has earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to ambitious open worlds, I mean, it is Rockstar. I mean, look at the gap between GTA 4 and GTA 5, and then look at the gap between GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar has consistently taken years to build games that feel like they're operating on a different scale from most other open world titles. GTA 6 looks like another evolution of that philosophy. We're going back to Vice City, but we're not getting the Vice City from 2002. We're getting a modern version of it surrounded by the fictional state of Leonida. We're following Jason and Lucia. We're getting a world that Rockstar has had years to build. And unlike 1983, Rockstar isn't rushing a game out a few months because Christmas is coming. In fact, Rockstar already delayed GTA 6 in order to give the game more time to reach the quality that it wants. The current official release is November 19th, 2026, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I'd rather wait for the game than to get it early. Maybe that's the real lesson. The video game crash in 1983 wasn't really about one terrible game. It was about an industry that got ahead of itself. Companies saw enormous demand and assumed it would continue forever. They flooded the market, they overproduced, they damaged consumer trust, and eventually the market corrected itself. GTA 6 exists in a completely different environment, but there is still a lesson here. Don't let the hype become bigger than what you're selling. That's true for Rockstar, it's true for publishers, and honestly, it's true for us as players, because we have spent years turning GTA 6 into something almost mythical. At some point, the real game is gonna have to compete with the myth, and no game can win that fight completely. So maybe we need to lower the expectations just a little. Not because GTA 6 is going to be bad, but because we should allow it to surprise us. The future of gaming doesn't depend on GTA 6, and that's probably the biggest reason why I'm optimistic. Even if GTA 6 is incredible, gaming doesn't end there. And if GTA 6 somehow disappoints us, gaming doesn't end there either. There will be another generation of developers, another generation of consoles, another generation of indie developers, another weird game that nobody expects to become popular. I mean, another Minecraft, another Fortnite, another game that someone makes in their bedroom and somehow becomes a cultural phenomenon. And that's just the beautiful thing about this industry. Nobody actually knows what the next big thing is going to be, and maybe that's what separates today from 1983. The industry is too big, too diverse, and too decentralized for one game to bring everything crashing down. GTA 6 can be enormous. It can make billions. It can break sales records. It can completely change what people expect from open world games, but it doesn't have to carry the entire industry on its back. And it just has to be a great game. And honestly, that's a much more reasonable expectation. So, am I still scared? I mean, yeah, a little, because GTA 6 is one of those releases that only comes around once in a generation. It's going to be an enormous amount of pressure on Rockstar. It's going to be a crazy amount of scrutiny. It's going to be people counting pixels in trailers. It's going to be YouTube videos analyzing every individual blade of grass. And when the game finally launches, there will probably be people disappointed simply because the game isn't exactly what they imagined. But I'm also incredibly excited because after 13 years, we are finally getting close. And for the first time, GTA 6 is no longer some distant idea that exists entirely in rumor and speculation. It's a real game and it's coming. And whatever happens, I think we're going to look back at this period and realize just how unusual it was to watch one video game become this massive before it even released. So no, I don't think GTA 6 is going to cause another video game crash. I don't think Rockstar is about to destroy the industry, and I don't think one game has the power to decide the future of gaming. If anything, I think GTA 6 represents something much more positive. It represents what happens when developers are given the time, money, technology, and ambition to chase an enormous idea. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't completely work, but either way, somebody is going to learn from it, and that's how gaming has always moved forward. One game pushes the boundary, another developer sees it, then takes that idea, improve it, someone else does something completely different, and eventually the entire medium evolves. So when GTA 6 finally launches, I'm not going to think about about $1 billion budget. I'm not going to think about the 13 years of waiting. I'm not going to think about whether it ruined or saved gaming. I'm just going to turn it on and walk around Vice City. I'm going to see what Rockstar spent all those years building, and hopefully for a few hours, I'm going to forget about all the expectations surrounding the game. Because at the end of the day, that's what video games are supposed to do. They're supposed to make us curious. They're supposed to surprise us. They're supposed to give us somewhere to go when we want to escape for a little while. And if GTA 6 can do that, then maybe all the pressure surrounding it doesn't matter quite as much as we think. Maybe the biggest game in the world doesn't need to save gaming. Maybe it just needs to remind us why we love gaming in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. I would love to hear your thoughts about this topic down in the comments, so please don't hesitate to leave one. I would love to hear what you got to say. But anyways, I'll catch y'all in the next one.
Go, hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice way.